Hi, this is Glenn Thomas with GenDataRater, and welcome to another tutorial that we've prepared for you. In this one, we're going to do something that's a bit more complex than what we've shown in the past. We're going to show how to generate two sets of data for two different tables that have a relationship. And in this case, we're going to make a slight modification to one of the earlier tables and sets of data that we made within the customer table. And we're going to also associate it with an order table for the customers. And probably the best way to show this relationship is to go straight over to the database and take a look at it. What we've done is we've got a customer database, and we've made one change to it, and that is we've made the customer ID a numeric value as a primary key, just to make it a little easier in this demo to get through it. But we still have first name, last name, address, city, state, the date that they joined, and then whether or not they're a member of the Value Club. Within our orders, we've got a primary key that uniquely identifies the order, and then we've got a customer ID that matches up with our customer ID over in the customer table, along with an order date, an order amount, a planned delivery date, and whether or not they've paid. And again, it looks like this when you actually look at the data, or the tables. So we're going to go back over to GenDataRater. Now, normally we would go through, we would select what we need and simply put it in there using the drop downs or type it in. I'm going to mention a tool that I use quite frequently in working with this, and that is WordPad or Notepad, because you can actually save these queries in WordPad, Notepad, Word, anything that will capture text, and you can cut and paste. In this case, this is the actual string that we would want to use to create the data for the customer table, which is the unique number, first name, last, and I can see that I missed something in there, first, last, address, city, state, etc. Now what I've simply done is to use the formatting capability of GenDataRater to kind of clean it up a little bit, and I'm just going to cut and paste that into here. And you can see it looks a lot prettier and actually gives us information about these things. Now I'm also going to go down here and I'm going to tell it it's SQL. We're going to generate 50 records, and again, going back to here, we're just going to grab the name of the table that we need in here, put it in, and we're going to generate our data. And it's that simple. So now if I grab these inserts and cut and paste them and go back to SQL, I can open up a new query window, I can paste them in, and I can execute. Now if I go over to my customer table and I say edit the top 200 rows, there's only 50, but you can see there they are, customer ID 1000 through 49. Very quick, easy to do, and there's all of our data. Now when we go to create our data for the orders table, it has to match up because there's a dependency between the customer ID in this table and the customer ID over here. So what that means is that our range of customer IDs has to fall within the same range we've got here, which means 1000 through 1050. So we can't just generate random numbers for the customer IDs. They have to match up. So what we'll do is go back to our GenDataRater, we'll clear out the tokens, and we're going to go back to our copy of WordPad, and we're going to grab this, which I've already prepared to speed things along, and we're going to paste it in here. And you can see what this is the unique order number, the customer ID. Now this is something that we haven't mentioned before, but it's up within the tokens. F is float, and the reason I'm using a float is if I tell it to generate a floating value between 1000 and 1049 with 0 decimal places, it's not going to try to format it in any way. It won't add any commas or dots or anything else. There is another numeric format called G, which is general. The issue with that is that that will place a comma in there. It will format a little bit, and we don't want any formatting in there. We're going to, for the date in this case, on our order table, we've got an order date, and then we've got an amount and a delivery date. So we're going to go over to here, and we've got an init date command to initialize that date to fall between the range of January 1st, 2010 and January 1st, 2011. Now here is another floating value with 2 decimal places for our order amount between the values $6 and $700. and then another init date that's going to make it between March 3rd, 2011 and January 1st, 2012, and then whether or not they've paid. So the only thing we have to do here is simply change this, is the name of the table, to orders. We'll create it for 200 records, make sure we've got plenty. And if we've done everything correct, we'll get this. Now we're simply going to highlight that. We're going to grab all these records, and we're going to go back over to here. And let's just open up that query window. We'll open up a new query window. We'll cut and paste it in, and we'll execute. And as you can see, it's generated all of our rows. Now, if I go over to the orders table, and I say edit the top 200 rows, there's all of them. There's our unique customer IDs, and they match up directly with the customer table so that these are valid orders. Now, just to show you there's no smoke and mirrors, if I go in here and try to change this to a value that's outside of the range of valid customer IDs, I get an error message. I can change it to whatever I want within that range, such as changing this to 09, and that works fine. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell on how to generate data for a parent table and a child table. This is Glenn Thomas. Thanks again for watching. I hope GenDataRater is doing the work that you need.